Alright, well these things aren't too bad to mount. So this is the actual unit itself. So go on the bar, it's just one U-bolt, and it's just got an off-leading disc that's gonna make the slice, and then the tube goes in here, and then there's an airbag system right here. So been pretty simple, but what it is my corn will go right here, and then I'll have 2 rows of cover crops, another row of corn, 2. You kind of get the picture there, but so far pretty simple. Hopefully we'll find out how it works when I start attaching everything else, but I just wanted to kind of get this started. I had to get some implement gauge wheels for it. Well, we got it all put on, at least the units themselves. Looking pretty good. As I said, this is just gonna be an 8 row, I guess you would say. But there are 16 units, as I said, they're offset for corn. The nice thing is that these have, so as I said, there's gonna be an airbag right here. Right here. And what's nice about these is, if I get on the right side here, you can see maybe that there's a leading blade on the disc, kind of like what Case does. So this is going to act as a coulter. This will make the trench, but that way it can cut through a lot of trash. My plan is, if everything works out good, I might make this into a no-till drill as well. Hey everyone, how are you doing today? Well, finally interseeding. Took a while, finally got everything built and the seed ordered, and the corn's about 5 leaves, so about where I wanted it. Would like to start it a little bit earlier, but it was windy, it was hot, and it was wet, so I couldn't really do anything, and now it's too dry. That's what happens when it's 105 degrees and 3-mile-per-hour winds. But anyways, just been kind of busy with this and irrigation. With this field, I'm doing 3 mixes. So right now I'm on my first mix. I've already gotten about 10 acres done of it. I'm trying to finish up the last 10 acres of it. And then we'll switch over to the other one. So in this field here, I've got, let's see, so there's buckwheat, cereal rye, crimson clover, phlox, dar, bar, I don't know what that is, mung beans, and nitro radish. Basically, I just talked to the cover seed guys and I said, hey, build me a mix, and we went with it. So I think so far for the month of June, we've maybe, it says 1 inch and 3/10. I think that's for June. In our farm, we definitely haven't got that. I think we got one storm that was, I don't even know if it was a 1/2 inch. And as I said, it's been about 100 degrees, upper 90s, and the last few days we got 30 to 50 mile-per-hour winds, and it dried everything up like crazy. If you can kind of see the corn, I'll try to take I'll get out sometime and take a sneak peek at it, but it is just been beat up like crazy. Anyways, back to the topic. So it's gonna be a good experiment and bad experiment. It's good because if I can get cover crops to work this year, then I know I can get them to work every year. The bad thing is it's gonna be really tough because it's so dry and hot. So I'm a little worried that these cover crops might not survive. And the corn might not either. So it might just be a failure all around. But I mean, we're still getting information, so that's good. So what I'm trying to accomplish with these cover crops is I'm trying to get a companion crop within the corn. I'm growing most of them, not all of them, but a lot of them are a cool season broadleaf, legume, grass. And so what it's supposed to happen is it's supposed to grow up a little bit and the corn will shade it out, and these cover crops should go dormant in the shade. Now they're not going to die and they're not going to grow much, maybe a few inches tall, but they'll go dormant. And then whenever I get ready to cut the corn, around the fall sometime, we'll cut the corn and then it'll start allowing light to come back in. It'll be cooler, hopefully, and then these cover crops can start growing again. They'll start giving off, well, not much in the fall. Basically it's going to have cover for the winter time. And then, like, there's legumes in there, which what they're supposed to do is they develop their own nitrogen. Well, once they die off, they release that nitrogen back into the soil. And so the plan is that it'll give me nitrogen for next year. As well as a big thing is just having cover for the soil. So throughout the winter time, I'm hoping to have cover. Doing this one-handed is kind of fun. Hopefully gonna have cover, and then I'll plant into that cover for next year. It is kind of some experiment, you know, I'm trying to see what survives, what works, and once I figure out that, I'll start fine-tuning the mix, and then have a better idea of what I'm going to put in for specific reasons. But right now, my big goal is just to find out what survives and what can actually grow out in southeast Colorado. So just to show what this thing is kind of doing in action, so, hit the mirror. Alright, so that there is the seed tender box. And then it's an 8-row, and there's, like I showed earlier, there's 2 interseeders per corn row. You can't really see it back there. This is a ground drive unit, so there's a wheel back there that's actually turning, and when that turns, it turns gears, which turns the gears on right underneath the air seeder, which is moving seed through all those tubes there. So it's a pretty cool little system. And then in the front here, so as I said, we just have to drive in between the rows, and thank goodness for GPS, because I have RTK, so we're able to put it into the put on GPS, straight rows, and it just drives itself right through. All right, well, I'm gonna load up the interseeder here. So got my cover crops, interseeder. Downside is I don't have a good way to load these, so I've got to stack them up there and put them in, which is not too bad because I'm not doing a lot of acres, but if I do a lot more, probably need to figure out a better way. Well, let's climb up here. Probably should have installed a ladder on this thing. Would have been a little better. Oh, okay, I made it. All right, so here's the tender. So these are just 50-pound bags. You can get totes of them, but I don't have a way to unload them very well. So I'm putting enough in. I'm putting enough in for 24 acres. This is my second mix, and then we'll have one more mix. So before I forget, so this mix is annual ryegrass, buckwheat, flax, hairy vetch, spring lentils, and turnip hybrid. Cool if it was turbo hybrid, but turnip hybrid, Vivian hybrid, whatever that is. So, yeah, pretty good mix. As I said, this one's gonna have the annual rye instead of cereal rye. The one downside, I guess, is cereal rye is easier to terminate in the spring. Annual rye can be a little tricky. So I made sure to put in a field that I'm not gonna go to wheat. I'll be going back to corn, so hopefully I can kill it. Hopefully. But got it loaded up, so we'll be interseeding here. I'm gonna go take some lunch, and then I'll be hitting it pretty quick.